My last step in hiring someone is to try to talk them out of taking the job. I want to make it sound really chaotic and difficult. And if they're still here, then I know they're down.
I'll meet people who are like, I think I'm ADHD, but I'm pretty sure I solved it. And then their team is behind them like, you didn't, please help.
There's preventable chaos. There's the necessary amount of chaos right in the middle of the spectrum. Then there's also too little chaos, which feels like a good thing, but it's a bad thing. Like if you're a founder and you're bored in your business, I promise you're not achieving your potential.
Hello, everybody. I am super, super excited today to be joined by Matt Verlaque. Matt is a former firefighter, turned SaaS founder, investor, and coach, the former co-founder of UpLaunch, the former CEO of SaaS Academy, and now the founder and CEO of Precision. It's a platform that helps growth-minded founders actually understand how their business is performing. So important, so close to, what we do, so aligned with, the things we care about here as well. Matt has coached over 100 SaaS founders. He's built Precision to solve one of the biggest blind spots for entrepreneurs, especially those with ADHD, which is knowing what to measure, how to make decisions, how to stay focused when your brain is wired for distraction. And I will say I am actually one of his clients in Precision. Love it. Love working with Matt. So I just feel so lucky to be able to chat with you today.
I'm excited. Thank you for the intro. Thanks for being part of our world. I love having you as a client. I think we think about things very, very similarly, which is going to make this conversation a lot of fun. So I'm super excited to chat.
Yes. Yeah. I'm excited to get this out of the DMs, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's share it with the world, right? Oh my gosh.
Awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit about your story. So you went from firefighter to SaaS founder. That's not your average path, but I get it. I went from academic to, entrepreneur. So what sparked that shift, and, what did you learn about yourself in that transformation?
Yeah, it's funny because there's always this temptation to do the revisionist history thing, to go back and say, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur and I saw this thing in the market. Like it was none of that, Skye. Like it was not even a plan. So the way that it really went down, I loved the fire department. Like it was the first thing I was ever great at. Like as an adult, I was going to work there for 33 years. I just gotten promoted. Like I was all in. It was a blast. It was a great career. But my shift partner, who ended up being my co-founder later in the first software company, his name was Jake. And Jake opened a CrossFit gym in his like local town in Pennsylvania, east coast of the United States. And in the fire department, there's this culture. Like we all have, fire department skills, but we also usually come from somewhere else. Some guys are painters or plumbers or builders. Like Jake was a builder. I was a nerd. And so I had some like secret coding skills. I can make websites and this and that. And so Jake, when he opened his gym, he was like, hey man, can you help me with like this website and figure out how to market it? And the thing about Jake, similar to myself, is that we're both like blissfully dissatisfied with life, right? We're grateful for the things that we have. And we also just want to go figure out what the next thing is because it's who we are. And so naturally, one thing led to another. We're building this website, then we're doing marketing automation and email campaigns for the gym. And then we're starting a business together to teach other gyms how to do it. And like, long story short, we messed around with that for like 2 years, gave away some content. We were setting up software for other people. And eventually we were building this like pseudo software business on top of other people's software platforms. And it kept breaking. And, I'm a big leadership guy. So is Jake. And we kind of like looked at each other. And I remember saying to him one time, I was like, man, like if this thing's going to be busted, like I at least want it to be my fault, like I can't even fix the problems. I'm just like taking accountability for them and I can't fix them. So that didn't sit well. And so I went and learned how to code on my days off from the fire department. I went to like a coding boot camp online, found the smartest guy in there whose name is also Matt, and kind of like twisted his arm to come join our company as the CTO. And then we had a few other co-founders at the time. So it was like a team of 5 people and we just got to building, and one thing led to another, got some customers, got some revenue, and was doing both jobs, much to the dismay of my wonderful wife, who finally looked at me and was like, look, dude, I don't even care which job you pick anymore, but if you could just choose one, that would be amazing. And so we hopped off the fence, and Jake and I left the fire department, went all in on the business, and that was that.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. And shout out to the people who love us and as we go through these processes.
Yeah, for sure.
So that was that was the start of a pretty big journey. You have now built and exited and advised with multiple companies. I guess my question for that, and I think this is a question a lot of people have, is they might relate to the beginning of your story. Yeah, that maybe they're in that space or they were recently in that space. But this end bit where you like sell, like, how did you feel getting there? Like, who do you think you had to become? Or did you just feel like the same guy, but now you're exiting this company?
I think that change is an interesting thing because you look back, like that people ask that question a lot, like, who did you need to become? I don't think that a lot of the time, at least, I don't think we choose to become someone and then go become the person. I think that you're kind of in it
Yeah.
and you unintentionally sometimes become this different version of yourself. And then you look back and you're like, wow, like I handled that situation totally differently than I would have, 5 years ago. So I think it's one of these things that you can only see it clearly in retrospect. I think that the things that helped us with that, above all else, like I tell you, the one thing that broke it open for us above all else was that I knew that I had blind spots. And I think that it's really easy for founders to, once they start to have some degree of success, to like fall in love with themselves a little bit. Be like, oh, like I got this. I got this figured out. I found a marketing channel. I closed some deals. Like I got some testimonials. People are stoked. I got this. And I just, like, Skye, I don't mean this in like a directly self-deprecating way, but just being real with you, like I go through life assuming that I'm an idiot. Like I just go through life
I've met
assuming,
you, I know.
yeah, like I just like I look around every corner. I'm like, oh, I bet there's something I don't know about over there. Let's go figure it out. And I think like that's what led me to meet Dan Martell. I became a client of SaaS Academy long before I led that company, as the chief operating officer. Because I just knew that I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And my numbers reflected that. Like we were flat broke for a long, long time. And like I always joke when I tell the story on stage, like, people talk about hockey stick growth, like my hockey stick was laying down. You know what I mean? It's just flat and then like a little bit at the end. So I knew that like our business for a long time was pretty much doomed. And we were less than a year away from running out of cash. And we paid for coaching with SaaS Academy out of our pockets because we didn't have any extra money in the business. And it was pretty much like, all right, if we don't try this, then if nothing changes, we're done. And if we do try this and it doesn't work, we're done 2 months faster. Who cares? Let's try it out. Let's see what we can go learn. And so I think that just like leaning into coaching, leaning into, finding smart people who've achieved the thing I wanted to achieve multiple times, like they have a real track record, not just a one-hit wonder.
Yeah.
Like that was the key for me. And I went in there and like, Skye, I was like the nerdiest student ever. I went to the little events and I was like sitting in the front row with my notebook, writing all down all the notes. You know what I mean? And just like I
relate.
implement, yeah. Like I would implement everything, and we did, and it worked. And because Dan's stuff is solid, and that was a big part of what built us is just modeling first, then modifying, taking the framework out of the box and selling it into the company and seeing how it worked. And that was the first part. But the other part that was interesting was, there was a lot of opportunity as the team started to grow to apply the leadership lessons that I developed in the fire service into the business. And I think that was cool. I think that Jake and I did a good job with that. And, it's interesting, like we have people from the first business joining us in Precision now because 5 years after we sold the company, like, oh, whatever you do, call me, like we'll run it back. We'll do it again. Like, that's pretty cool. It makes you feel good. So yeah, but exiting the business itself, and we can get into that if you want to, like it was a kind of a wild existential experience,
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting one, and I think it is right, and I think it's always good not to be aware of what you don't know. I mean, I love that. I actually always get a little kick out of it because I'll meet people who are like, I think I'm ADHD, but I'm pretty sure I solved it, and then their team is behind them like, he didn't. Please help. We're drowning. Come on, and it can be like that. So I think knowing your blind spots and knowing you have them is one of the reasons I like working with you. It's really helpful. I think when we talk about, like, before we talk about the exit, because I think that's kind of the big, like, the bright spot kind of at the end. Let's talk about the chaos. One of the things that, we're working with ADHD audiences who are running businesses, and they're really struggling with the chaos of just having a million things going on, a million fires. Have you noticed patterns in how people experience and deal with chaos, having worked with so many founders?
Yeah, there's chaos exists on a spectrum, right? And I think there's there's preventable chaos. There's the necessary amount of chaos right in the middle of the spectrum. Then there's also too little chaos, which feels like a good thing, but it's a bad thing. Like if you're a founder and you're bored in your business, I promise you're not achieving your potential. Like it's not supposed
We
to
have a
be.
whole system for that at the end. We're like, now it's working. This is how you don't mess it up.
Yes,
Because
yeah,
it's
for
so
sure.
common.
Yeah, 100%. And so I think that for me, like and I think we're similar in this way. Like I like to have things a certain way. I like to plan out how things are going to go. Like I'm pretty, I don't know. It's interesting. I'm meticulously organized in some areas of my life, but I can't find my keys to leave the house ever, so the other areas are a mess. But I think that with the business, I always strive for it to be predictable. And the reality is that, especially in an early stage company, it's anything but predictable. So I try to hold a really high bar for like understanding the chaos that's around me, And so if there's chaos that's preventable, if there's chaos that comes from a team member not being good at their job or not being led properly by you, which PS is always the thing you should reach for first before you decide they're not good at their job. Or we don't have the right systems or processes, or I didn't do a good job, preparing my work, or whatever the thing is. Like those types of preventable chaos exist on the side of the spectrum that you should not endeavor to live in, right? But I think that we also need rhythms. Like a business that's running well is like music, right? It has rhythms. There are, daily rhythms, weekly rhythms, monthly rhythms, quarterly, annually. And I define that like a rhythm is just an action or a meeting or a planning exercise or a set of actions that you take on a specific cadence the same way every single time to get a predictable result. That is the rhythm of business. And so I think when you install a rhythm into a business, then you know that like you have these little contained boxes of chaos that you need to go figure out, And I think that that type of chaos, like something is always going to feel broken if you're pushing to grow a company. Like it's like building muscle, right? Whereas like you go to the gym, you're like, oh, you have to like, tear your muscle a little bit, these little micro tears in your muscle. I'm not a trainer, right? And then it grows back bigger than before. I don't even know if that's true or not. I'm not a fitness trainer, but like that's what people say.
Someone's
That's
going
the
to
bro
DM
science.
us.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so, but it's an interesting corollary to like the way businesses work. Like you have to break it to grow it. That is super true. So I think that just getting good at managing the types of chaos that are actually beneficial to your business is super important. But being able to tell the difference between the two is actually the skill that you need to develop in the first place.
Yeah. And being able to tell your team that that's what's going to happen as well. I think that's crucial. Like making sure that you're not going, we have to break it. And everyone's like, what? I've had people like that where you're like, they've only previously worked in government, nothing ever changed. And they come to this and it's just the culture clash. It's too much.
Yeah.
So having people who understand that that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, you got to put the label on the bottle, I think, right? Like you got to, like I tell my team now, and knowing what I know now, is my, third startup plus a couple I've worked in. Like I told them when they joined, I said, look, you're going to wear a lot of hats. Everything you do is going to change 100 times before it ever stops changing. It's going to be chaos. It's going to be weird hours. You're going to be working a lot. And there's ways that I incentivize them to be okay with it. I'm not just like bullying them into doing it or begging them to do it. Right. I mean, there's ways that I make it worth their while, but I tell them up front, like my last step in hiring someone is to try to talk them out of taking the job. Like I want to make it sound really chaotic and difficult. And if they're still here, then I know they're down, but I don't believe in like selling people really hard on why this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Like it's probably going to suck, honestly, but like let's just make the payoff worth it, and we'll just go through it together, and it's all good. We have some fun on the way, But I think it's important to be forthcoming about that.
Hey, you listening to this podcast? If you like what we do and you want to hear more of it, there is one way to make sure that happens. Please go ahead, subscribe, and leave a 5-star review. We have been told 5-star reviews can help us to get seen by more people, which means more people are going to learn about ADHD strategies.
Just press the button. Just give us a 5-star review.
Yeah, and we're going to get into the practical strategies of working on that in a second. But before that, I actually have a question for you that we haven't really talked about, which is that you raised 3 kids. Well, not you, obviously, as a partner.
Yes.
You raised 3 kids. Yeah, exactly, while building a company. And I'm curious, do you have any personal habits or boundaries that you have set in order to, manage the chaos of that? Or maybe you wished you'd set, especially when you were building that first one?
Yeah, well, I have a lot of both, right? I think the boundaries that I have now were born out of not having any for a while. It was there's 2 sides to this, Skye, right? There's there's looking at the boundaries that you want to have, which we'll definitely get into. But I think there's also, like we talk about putting the label on the bottle, like especially if you're a first time founder and especially if the company's early stage, like there's also a bit of sacrifice that is going to happen if you want your company to make it. And so I think that like there's damaging, I think like societal narratives on both sides, like I'm not into the whole like, rise and grind 100-hour weeks, like blah, 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 you time to have a family later. Like I'm not down with that. For obvious reasons. I mean, I'm a husband and father first and foremost, but that being said, I also don't believe, especially as like a first time founder bootstrapping a company, that like you're not going to make it in 40 hours a week. You're just not. It's not going to be a thing. Like it's going to take more than that to do something extraordinary. And so I think that probably the first and most important like at home strategy to consider is just really crystal clear communication and expectation setting with your spouse, your partner, the people in your life.
Yeah.
Like I try really hard not to work late these days. And sometimes I have to work late, but I will look at it as a failure on me if it's a surprise, right? If it's a surprise to anyone, we don't have a plan. It like throws a wrench in childcare. They're supposed to be somewhere I'm supposed to be, like a kid's activity. If I'm working late then, like it better damn well be an emergency. And the true emergencies are few and far between. So I think that like communicating and like almost treating it like a little mini business in certain ways. Like we look at the calendar every Thursday morning, we look at the calendar and we see what we have going on and we make sure everything's accounted for. And, there's no surprises in the schedule. But I think that's been super helpful. But there's something else that's less tangible and a little bit more existential that I think is important too. And it's just like communicating openly about the business with your spouse or partner. Like they don't have to be an entrepreneur. Like my wife's not an entrepreneur. She works in the hospital. She's great at what she does. She has an incredible career in her own right. But she's not like running startups, it's just different risk tolerance, different things, work for different people. But I still try to communicate with her productively about the business. Like this is what's going on in the company. This is how it's doing. These are the things that we're working on or that we're up against. Because I think that, even if your spouse or partner isn't participating in your business, which by the way is fine, they still probably care about you enough where they want to have understanding. And I think that it's difficult for us as founders to explain what the hell it is we do all day because it's weird, it's just weird.
Yeah.
It's weird stuff. So I think that just building shared understanding of like what it's actually like, and then also like listening to what their world is like and the non-entrepreneurial thing that they may be into or the different entrepreneurial venture they may be into, and building that shared understanding with them. So I think just communication all around is the big thing for sure. Kind of above everything else.
Yeah, I love that. Not getting into that, you don't understand, you wouldn't get it. Like not moving into that place.
Yeah, no, it's not a productive place to be, especially with like the one person you're spending the rest of your life with. Like them not understanding, that's not a feature. That's not a good thing. Like that's probably on you as the individual to do a better job explaining what it is you do and how it shows up in your life. It's crazy. Like when we were building the first company, she was working full-time shift work in the hospital. I was working full-time shift work in the fire department and building the company. And we had 2 kids under 2. And it was so chaotic at one point. We actually tallied it up on the calendar. We were single parenting 26 days a month between both jobs. And it was to the point, my oldest son, he was like, gosh, I don't know, a year and 9 months at the time, almost 2. He would start crying when my wife and I were home together because he knew that it meant one of us was probably getting ready to leave. And
no.
That was like right before I finally bounced from the fire department. I was like, this is not the kind of father that I want to be,
Yeah. No, it's tough having those moments. It's funny, actually. I have something I implemented with my husband, which is if we're in that space, we need to communicate better. We have to communicate what we do as if we're talking about what someone else does. So it would be like, imagine if you're in the hospital and then this is happening and then this is, and it's like that. So you're sort of like, you have to put yourself in the mindset of what they're doing to explain, and the doctor says this and the nurse says that. And they kind of like, it's proving that you're like thinking about it from their perspective. And that can be just a fun exercise.
Yeah, it's like it's a great container to, I think, create empathy, right? With what the other person's experience is. That's cool.
Yeah, definitely. It's just ADHD, thinking outside the box stuff. So let's talk metrics. Let's talk about metrics because that is what you do. So For the overwhelmed founder with ADHD, what is the bare minimum data they should be tracking weekly to keep their business on course?
I can answer this question decently well with a little bit of explanation, right? Because every founder, they're like, especially the founders that are not the operator, like the visionary, I'm going to go change the world kind of founders, like, tell me the 5 numbers I need to know. And that's all I'm ever going to look at. And like, I promise you that you are doing yourself a disservice. Like, your business needs more than that out of you. So please don't be that founder to anybody listening. That being said, there is a minimum effective dose to start with. And it starts with knowing how business works. Like, at the core of any business, there are 3 ways that you can grow it. I don't care what the industry is. It's a indelible truth in my mind. You can get more customers, you can keep them longer, or you can make them more valuable. Like, that's every business. And if you're not doing recurring revenue, but you're doing like e-commerce, like keeping them longer means like repeat customers, repeat sales. But it's always the same overarching principle. More customers, keep them longer, make them more valuable over time. So knowing that, the way that I start is really simple. How many customers am I getting? How long are they staying with me? How much are they worth? How much money am I making? How much profit am I making? Those are the top 5. I promise you that the minute you start measuring those every week, you will outgrow them. But that's like that's my gateway drug to like measuring. So like if someone comes to me and like, I'm not measuring anything on a weekly basis, I like get the books back from my accountant and I look at them like, oh my God, okay, those are the 5 customers. How long are they with you? How much are they worth? Revenue, profit. Cool.
Yeah.
And then they look at this and they say, Matt, this doesn't actually help me run my business. And I say, I know. Now we can start the work. Now we can start doing the work, because you have to double click into the leading indicators in each of those areas. And so with those 3 levers, usually for most companies, you can really focus on one at a time. Like, if it was so easy to say in Q3 of this year, I'm going to go get more customers and keep them longer and make them more valuable, like, neat. We'd all be millionaires, right? Yeah, so good. I'm going to push the more customers button and I'm going to flip the retention switch over. Yeah, it's just not
yeah.
Yeah, it'd be sweet, right? So it takes focus. It takes true prioritization. Like, I literally have calculators on like helping people figure out which one of these levers to pull first. But the idea is this: once you know which of those 3 levers you need to focus in on, you need to work your way up the chain. And so, like, I'll give you an example. Like, let's say our retention's good, but we just need more customers. That's what everyone thinks they need before they do the math anyway. So it's like, cool, if I need more customers, so I'm selling through sales calls, my first question is like, is the sales process efficient? So then how many calls do I have on the calendar? What percentage of them is showing up? Of the show up rate, how many people are qualified? Of the people who are qualified that I'm giving the offer to, how many are closing? Are they paying on time? 6. That's like 12 metrics right off the break. And then from there, if it's an inventory issue and you're like, damn, I'm not talking to enough people, then you got to go all the way up to marketing, right? Like, how am I generating? Which channels am I generating from? Am I doing podcasts? Am I doing, email lists? Am I doing paid advertising? And then, is each of those channels performing well for me? Where are people coming from? What's my cost per acquisition? How much money am I spending? And so it's neat because it's like just in time data. And what I mean by that is I tell people constantly, like, don't go, like, when I was running SaaS Academy, I tracked 387 data points on a weekly basis. Like, all of you who are overwhelmed, take a breath. It's cool. You don't have to do that. I tell people specifically, do not do that. Don't go from 0 to 387. It was a 52 person company, right? Just start with the 5. And then when you have to make one of those 3 levers better, instrument the things you need to go solve the problem. And then just keep measuring them, because you're probably going to have to solve the problem again, because founders break stuff. That's what we do. And then you go to the next one. So just put the metrics in when you got to fix a problem, and then just measure them every single week. Like, that's the minimum effective dose.
Exactly. And for those of you with ADHD, I would say figure out who's responsible for getting those metrics and make it their job to measure them every week. And then, Matt always talks about the weekly meeting. So that's when we review it. So you don't
and for
have
what it's
to
worth,
necessarily find
anyone listening to this without ADHD, please also do what Skye just said, because like, it's the way to do
it. Surprisingly. Also, we could talk about how many of you, everyone has ADHD. So many ADHD entrepreneurs. Okay, actually, which brings me to my next question. Many ADHD founders have working memory issues. They struggle, if somebody said, they might talk for hours about their, hyper-focus, the thing they care about. But if someone says, hey, can you remember to do this thing tomorrow? And they're like, yeah, sure. It's gone by the time they finish that sentence. So how can scorecards and these reviews help reduce that working memory load?
It comes back to the rhythms. And I'll give you this. You can like give it to people if it's helpful. Like, I have a whole Notion set up that I use to like take notes a certain way that helps me. But basically, I live and die by the list, right? There's a couple of things that I care about. I care about rhythms. I care about packaging up context, and I care about lists. So rhythms we talked about, right? I'll come back to the context thing in a minute. But I need to write stuff down. At SaaS Academy, they literally called me the writer downer, to the point where I changed my job title in Slack to the writer downer, because I got to write stuff down. And so I keep lists and I organize them by person, right? So every team member that I have, that's usually who I need to interact with. Every team member that I have has a little toggle list inside my Notion database. And I track two things. I track commitments, like things that I need from them. And I track like coaching and feedback, like something that I want to work with them on, next time we have a one-on-one. And I just put stuff on the list. Now, like if it's really important and time sensitive, I'm just going to go handle it. So that is piece of advice number one, is like, don't procrastinate if you can't or shouldn't, right? Go handle what you got to handle. But outside of that, I put it on the list. And then I know that it's retained, and like modern technology, I can like link stuff to the list. I can link emails. I can add posts. Like, I got it all baked out. And then I know that I've got everything, and I just check the list every day. So part of my daily rhythm, and I have it in my calendar, is I do this power down ritual where it's a 30-minute block. I don't always take 30 minutes. Don't tell anyone, but I'll just sit down and I'll like look at the list. I'll add stuff to the list. I'll brain dump stuff so I can get out of my head. And then I know that even if it's not like in the right place, it's somewhere not in my brain, and I can go home and be a husband and be a dad and not be stressed out about work. So try really
100%.
hard to follow that. I run the list, and then, but the interesting thing is, you start to write these lists, you'll realize that a lot of this stuff happens on a cadence. It's the same stuff. I need to do a financial review every single month in the first 5 days, and I need to look at this data 3 times a week. And so I will put them on my calendar, and I will package up all the context of everything I need to do. Like I'm going to pull one up literally right now, because I did it this morning. So it's June 4th when we're recording this episode. I just did the May financial review. So I click on the little link, and it's like, step number 1, review transaction list within the accounting platform. Here's a link. Step number 2, revenue recognition report. Prove that. Step number 3, deal report. Step number 4, variable comp report. Like sick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 links in the calendar invite. And I don't have to think. I just have to follow the process. And if I forget how to do it, there's an SOP on how to do a monthly review, and I can go look at it. So like, I just get to show up and follow my calendar like a to-do list. And that's the thing, is like, I live by the list. Your calendar is a list. And if you're only putting meetings in the calendar, you are explicitly prioritizing yourself last, which I would love to invite anybody listening to stop doing. So if you have to do work,
100%.
work takes an amount of time. Make a rectangle that represents that amount of time, put it in your calendar, package up the context. And all you got to do is show up to work on Wednesday morning, and okay, 9 o'clock, review financials, 10:30 coaching call, 2 o'clock, talk to Skye. It's all in there.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, I think this is incredibly useful. And I just want to sort of add in 2 pieces to that. Number 1 is put the fun stuff in your calendar as well. Like, don't just make it work, because otherwise your calendar is just a list of things that suck, or could feel like that. So don't do that. Like, put the fun stuff in, and if your business is doing well, then you have to double down on putting the fun stuff in, because otherwise you're going to sabotage it in that space. And then the other one is, when it comes to these lists, and it's so great to have those Notion lists, I have them as well. Like, make it a 1 to maximum 2 click to get to those lists. If you have to remember, I got to go here and then go here and then go here, you've got a working memory problem just to get to the list. So make it easy to get to the list.
That is the truth. Yeah, you can hide this beautiful to-do list so deep that you forget where the list is. That's a good one.
100%.
Yeah,
These are the little nerdy things that I nerd out about. Okay. So let's talk about precision. I use precision. I think it's great. It's got clear actions, not just charts, although it does have very cool Apple style chart. How can we move from being just aware of our data? Like, we look at it and we go, oh, that's a bit of a lot. Or sometimes we're like, that's pretty cool. To actually being data driven. Yeah.
It starts with one key principle, which is you have to decrease your proximity to the truth. And here's what I mean. Dashboards are like middle management for your numbers, right? We put some like pretty paints and we put them in a circle. Like, if it was up to me, Skye, I wouldn't have any charts in my software. I just know that nobody would buy it if I didn't have any charts. So I put some charts in there, right? But like me, the most important thing is, how far away am I from the truth? And the truth is the number and the data below the number, right? And so like, that's why I can't stand these like dashboarding platforms. And I went through this when I first joined SaaS Academy. I was like, I know how to solve our data problem. We're going to have dashboards. And I like built all this stuff. I spent a whole quarter building dashboards. And I'll tell you what happened. Nobody trusted what was on the dashboards, because they couldn't see why 47 was 47 when they thought it was 56 or whatever the example is. So that's why the heart of our software is a spreadsheet. And this isn't a pitch for our software. Like, you can literally use a spreadsheet. I'll give you a template. Like, that's where you should start. You shouldn't start by getting fancy software. Like, use a spreadsheet tomorrow. But put the real numbers in, because the numbers make you ask questions. The chart, it's like diluting a cup of coffee, right? Just pouring a whole bunch of water in it and then wondering why it doesn't taste that good, right? The numbers are the truth. So I don't want to know like, our sales green, like, that's cute if you like crayons. I want to know, what is the number? Why is it 50 when last week it was 70? What caused it to decrease by 20? And who do I need to talk to your earlier point about what we're doing to go back up to 70 again? Like, your business is a math problem. It is a highly emotional, very personal math problem. We can't solve math problems without looking at numbers. That's the truth.
Yeah. It is a highly emotional math problem. I think it's one of the reasons a lot of people don't like looking at numbers, is they're scary. We can talk marketing all day, we can talk sales all day, we can talk this is going to be amazing all day, but the numbers do not have that, necessarily in them. And if they do, it's usually on the back of knowing them and the hard work of actually figuring this stuff out.
Yeah. And it is work. It is work. Amazon's got some great principles on this. There was this photo that was circulating around Twitter for a while, and it was a series of whiteboard photos about how to write like an Amazonian. And, there were a couple of things in that stood out to me. I'm trying to do this from memory, but one of them particularly, they had this principle of like, no weasel words. And then they're like, okay, what is a weasel word? And it's like a lot, many, more, less, some. It's like, we didn't get a whole bunch more leads last week. Our leads increased 32% from, X to Y because of Z reason. Like, it's just a precision, no pun intended, in how you communicate. So I really liked that. And the other one that made me laugh, even though it's a little bit pedantic, was there's only 4 correct answers to a question: yes, no, a number, or I'll go find out. And I was like, that's fascinating.
I love that. That's so great.
So there's some good ones in there.
We don't love an I don't know in one of those meetings. So no, it's so great. And I will say, because I am not a numbers person naturally. I actually have dyscalculia to the point where when I got tested for it, they just stopped the test and said, okay, we think you have it. We're not going to make you do this math anymore. Weirdly, basic math has always, that's what dyscalculia does, basically. Coding is fine. But when I use the dashboard, your dashboard, it has the number, but it also has a red, orange, green. So I just want to put that out there.
No, I love it. Like, I don't want to be misconstrued. Color coding is incredibly useful. It's useful like that. It's like progressive disclosure, right? Like in a software platform, or like the table of contents to the book, right? I insist, even when I was running this out of a spreadsheet, I insisted that any metric with a goal was color coded: red, yellow, or green. Green is we're on track. Yellows were 10% off. Red is more than 10% off. Like, I would stop a meeting, Skye, if it wasn't color coded. I would literally stop a meeting and wait for someone to do it. Because that's what draws the eye to the numbers that we need to go double click on. And that's why we built the software that way. Like, seeing a sea of numbers is incredibly overwhelming for anybody, and not that particularly helpful unless you are like the special kind of nerd where you can be like, I'm just going to go review these 400 numbers and I can like have individual context about
like
everyone.
Neo in the Matrix, you're just watching them.
For sure. Like, I love this stuff, and that's not me. I need the colors too. I'm just saying that the dashboard's like only color coding and being like, oh, why is red red? Is it deep red or is it actually pink? Like, no, it's like when it's red, we got to go get the truth about it. So it's both in conjunction that really gets the job done.
Yeah, which I think is really helpful. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we talked a little bit about, this kind of leads us on to a question about accountability, because some people might be listening to this and feeling a little bit uncomfortable about the idea of holding their team accountable to numbers, because that's just not been the culture, or maybe for them or for their team. So what is, in this world where we're going to break things 100 times and all of the stuff that we said before, what does accountability look like?
It is a big question. I'll give you a few things that are front of mind for me. And the reason that it's a couple of things, I'm not trying to be long-winded for no reason, but it's because there's a couple of ingredients to having true accountability to the numbers. And if you drop any one of the ingredients, the whole thing falls apart. So I'm going to try to cover kind of the way that I see this. I think that above all else, it's very, very difficult to have like truly ethical accountability. And I'll explain what I mean by that in a second, if you don't have a really solid process for setting goals in the first place. So ethical accountability, what I mean by that is I don't feel that it's ethical for me as a CEO to invent a target that's based on what side of the bed I woke up on and like how important I want to feel when I tell people my numbers, and then go fire you if you don't somehow conjure it out of thin air. Like that is poor leadership, and I don't really stand for it, because I think as someone who's leading a company, you first need to hold yourself to a higher standard of setting goals that actually make sense, because that is the only way your team will buy into them. So it starts with goal setting. So the way that I do goal setting, a very, very abridged version, is I see where we are, I see where we want to get. That's cool. But then I map the actual performance gap in between. Like if we didn't change anything, where would we land at the end of the next quarter? And then what are the checkpoints that would need to be true? And it's like we'll use our sales example from earlier. Maybe our show rate needs to come up by X%, and our close rate needs to come up by X%, and we need this many more leads, but we can only afford that many more leads. So kind of like work the Ouija board a little bit and lay it all out with the people who are in charge of those results. And the idea is at the end of that meeting, everyone has figured out like what points they think they can commit to putting on the board. And it's not an objective process. We try to make it one, but as the leader, it's still going to come down to you deciding like, is this person trying to lowball their goals? Are they being too aggressive because they're scared to say no to me? And do I think they're going to fail? Do I think that they can do this, but they need more resources? Can I provide the resources? Like, do I believe them? Are they normally right, or are they normally wrong? Like, these are the leadership questions only you can answer. But at the end of that session, the idea is that you leave with a plan and specific numbers that all of the people who are responsible for those numbers have co-signed, saying, yes, this is the plan. And once that happens, then you can ethically hold them accountable to hitting the numbers that they said they would hit. So that's part one. The second part is measuring it on the regular, like agreeing how success will be measured and measuring it every single week. I'm a big, big stickler, as you know, for measuring data every single Monday in public with the team. And then the third one is the one that makes everyone uncomfortable. Like accepting the fact that some people might not be capable of hitting the numbers that your business needs them to hit. And it doesn't mean that they're bad. It doesn't mean that they're not smart. And it doesn't mean that you can't love them while they're working at their next job. But the business is an organism, and it needs what it needs to survive and thrive and grow. And some people will be great at a certain stage of business and just not be able to get it done at the next stage of business. And it's normal and it's painful, especially if you've like built with them for a long time and you really like them. It sucks, but like it's real. And at some point, you're going to have to choose between that discomfort and the future of your company. And it's up to you which one you choose. But if you want the company to grow, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that's it's good to have somebody who's been there and sort of done it saying that, because I think it is very important. And I also just wanted to add, if you're somebody listening and you're like, well, the only person I'm really going to talk to about this is me, does that mean I still have to do this? Yes, you do. I expect you to be at your Monday meeting, reviewing your numbers with yourself. Or, one of the reasons it's so good to be part of a group of community of entrepreneurs and the coaching and all that sort of stuff that Matt just talked about is because you can do it with other people and you can have that conversation, but you don't get to not look at your numbers until you hire a team member.
Yeah, no, it's true. Ideally, you have someone in your world that will expect more out of you than you expect out of yourself. Like that is a very wonderful privilege to have in this world, is you have someone who will look at your ambitious goals and giggle and be like, really? That's all you got? That's all you got, Skye? Come on, what about doing where's the rest of it? Then you're like, damn. Because the crazy thing is they're usually right. And it's wild. Like you can get literally like 10x deltas on the results that you drive simply by making a different plan. But like the actions are usually the same. It's just a different budget, a different velocity, a different intensity. It's just different choices, but it's not always different skills.
100%. And if you want someone who's guaranteed to laugh at your goals, go talk to Dan Martell.
I've never experienced that, Skye.
There's no way he's not going to be like, what? That's crazy. Okay, so I have a few questions that I like to ask everybody at the end of the podcast. So I'm going to ask you these questions. Number one, what is the biggest professional achievement, the one you're the most proud of for you?
I think everyone expects me to say selling my first company, but it's actually not that. It's the jobs that I was able to create along the way. Like that is a big part of my why. I love the problem that we solve with precision. I love helping founders grow. Like I love the work you and I get to do together and the work I get to do with our other clients. But the thing that lights me up as a human being more than anything else is actually the team and working through the team. and seeing them grow and like expand what they're capable of and develop new skills and seeing them win. Cause like not always easy to work for. And I don't always like keep it comfortable. Like I get real with people. And when they show up and they do things that they didn't think they were capable of and do a great job, and I see them becoming a different version of themselves. And like, I know that they're doing it in a high expectation, but high support type environment. And I've resourced them to actually develop themselves and they're capitalizing on the opportunities. That fills my heart more than any type of like exit multiple valuation. Like, I don't, whatever, like it's cool. We're going to be okay. Right. I just want to create like, Skye, there's so many jobs that suck. Oh my gosh. There's so many places to work that just like suck the life out of you. And I just, I know that, you know, no matter what else and all the things I might do wrong in this world, like I can create a company where people want to show up and do their best work and love the people next to them and love the journey that we're on together and feel like it's hard, but it's worth it. When I do that, and which I've done for years, that is what makes me infinitely more proud than like, oh, I sold a company, like whatever, it's cool. But like I brought people with me and that makes me happy.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. And then on the other side, what is, would you say is your biggest professional embarrassment and how have you dealt with that?
I don't think I've had too many public embarrassments. I also haven't really started like living out loud in public, like documenting my journey until very recently. But I can tell you, is it okay if I tell you a couple of professional regrets? Is that all right?
Yeah, we'll take it.
Yeah. I think that there's really two with my first business. And look, my first business was a success story by most measures. You know, it was super cool. It was a beautiful first company. But I was a little bit too in love with my point of view on how our product should work. And I forgot the rule they teach us as children of, you know, one mouth and two ears, and you should listen twice as much as you talk. Because there were like, we had the edge in our market for quite some time, like better part of a year and a half. People were talking about. And there were like 4 or 5 specific features in our software. And this isn't a software thing, this applies to anybody in any business anywhere. When your customers are asking you for things, you should probably listen to them and build the things that they want you to build so they continue to pay you. And in my case, I spent a little bit too much energy convincing them why the way I'd already built it was the better way, and not enough energy listening to what they wanted. And wouldn't you be able to guess what happened? Someone else came along and built the thing that they wanted and started to take market share from us. And, you know, I look at, there was a specific time-bound opportunity in the market for us to capitalize on that we missed because I was too stubborn. And we probably easily would have like 3 to 4x the size of our entire business had I remembered that I have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a specific reason. So I think that's one. Yeah, that's probably my biggest one, to be honest with you, is that.
How do you deal with that today? Like having that? Because sometimes people can really, you know, bring that along for the ride with them.
I take a very like curious approach to my prior mistakes. Like I don't mind making mistakes. I mind making the same mistake more than once. But I think that like if you don't have a whole laundry list full of mistakes, you're not like playing the game hard enough. Like if you're winning at everything you do, you're playing not to lose. You're not actually winning. And so like Jake and I, and so Jake rejoined. He's one of the ones who wanted to come run it back. So for my first company, he's back with me at Precision now. But he and I have a list. Like we actually made a list with a pen one time about all of our biggest mistakes in business, and we categorized them into 5-figure mistakes, 6-figure mistakes. Had a couple of 7s on there. That one I told you about, that was a 7. You know, and we just thought about it. We talked about it one night. We're just like, what can we learn from reviewing all these mistakes? We weren't doing it from like, oh, let's punch ourselves in the face and feel bad. We're just like, let's make sure that we learn the lessons. And so I think it's normal to have mistakes. Just learn the lesson and go make some new ones. And as long as you're making new mistakes, you're doing it right. Like we're not in this game to not mess up. We're just in this game to not keep messing up the same way 100 times in a row.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. Then last question, if you had a personal motto, maybe you have one, what would it be?
I have a few. I actually have like a phone background with all my little sayings on them. My kids love to remember them. So I give you one business one and one personal one, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
The personal one is never grow up. And I don't mean that from like a lack of personal responsibility standpoint, I promise. But I just think that and this didn't even dawn on me until I became a father, but like seeing the way that my kids look at the world is kind of a beautiful thing in the sense of like, they just have this curiosity, like, oh, what's that? What's that do? Why is this that way? Like, cool, let's go run around. Let's go play a game, And so I just like, I try to maintain that curiosity. It's really hard, I mean, you've got all sorts of life and all sorts of adulting and hard stuff and blah, 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 whatever, but I just like, I try to just have some fun, try to be happy, try to like move my body a little bit, try something new, go like ride my bike or something. I don't know, just like try to find a couple times a week where I can just play a little bit, 10 minutes, and I think it adds a lot to just life, So I think that's definitely one. And the business one, which I didn't really adopt, I didn't have it on my phone background, but for precision, creating a new company, I really wanted to lean into it with the team. I say this to them all the time, make a mess. Because we all are like planners. I start a data company. Like we're all freaking nerds, right? Like we all wanted everything to be a certain way. I just have to like remind everyone like weekly, like it's going to be messy. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. Let's go make a mess. We'll clean it up. Like, oh, we're not like fully prepared to like take a subscription a certain way. Like neat, go figure it out. Run the credit card, make a mess, clean up later. It's going to be okay. And so like when we got our first customers in precision, we had like 19 customers join in like a 72-hour period. And I was like, sick. Like this is the mess I was hoping for. But I remember we were just like, okay, now we have to figure out how to onboard everyone. And I had like I had an iPad sketch of like, this is how onboarding works. And that was it. And we were just making it happen. And the first 5 were totally different than the following, 17 or however many ended up being. But it was just like, make a mess. Don't be scared to make a mess. We're going to go clean it up. We'll fix it. And as long as we are doing what's right by our customers first and our team second, everything else is solvable. Serve the customer, give them the result they paid for, over deliver, take care of the squad. Life is good. Everything else is fixable. And then just have some fun.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. Well, Matt, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. I know a lot of people will get things out of it. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Yes. I'm all over Instagram at Matt Verlaque. If you want to check out Precision specifically, it's precision.co, C-O, not .com, precision.co. You can check that out. If you're interested in what we're doing, you want to get clear on your numbers, you can always just DM me on Instagram. I literally love talking about this stuff all the time. Make sure you tell me you saw me on Skye's podcast so I can give her a fist bump. And or you can just book a call on our website. But yeah, Instagram or the website, that's where to find me. Any entrepreneur who's looking to get the numbers straight and figure out how to grow, I promise you that your next $1 million is sitting right in front of you and I can help you find it. So let's chat.
Awesome. Love that. Thanks so much. See you guys next time.
Thanks, Skye. Appreciate you.
Thank you for listening, everyone. And a big thank you to Adam for making us sound great and Anastasia for making us look great. We couldn't do it without you.
And if you're looking for any of the references to the papers that we discuss, head on over to our show notes page because I always bring the receipts.
Plus, if you want to find out more about us or any more deep diving into what we're doing, you can find us on Substack. That's where the community is. That's where we're chatting. And you can see all of the fun and exciting things that we are bringing to the table.
Thanks for being here.